After World War II, Dr. Wilder Penfield, a world-famous neurosurgeon, recruited Dr. Swank to the Montreal Neurological Institute. Now, the money to hire Dr. Swank came from a gift from a businessman whose son had multiple sclerosis. And because of this, Penfield stipulated that Dr. Swank had to conduct research on MS. Now, the remarkable thing is, at that time, he knew very little about MS. But he took his task seriously, and so he read deeply about and extensively about the illness. He eventually came up with the notion that there might be a possible association between dietary fat and MS. And to pursue this, he eventually conducted a series of investigations in Norway and demonstrated that MS was more common inland, where the diet was high in fat, than on the seacoast, where the diet was low in fat. Now, Dr. Swank was fond of telling how this research was funded. He met with the great man Penfield and explained to him his idea. Penfield, who apparently was impetuous, immediately told Swank that he should go to Norway, gave him 2 months off to go, and then personally wrote out a check to fund the research. If only it were that simple now. Now, based on his research, Dr. Swank began treating patients, MS patients in Montreal with a low-fat diet, an approach he pursued for the rest of his life. Now, I must emphasize at that time that MS was considered untreatable and a hopeless condition, and it was not uncommon at all for physicians not even to tell the patients when they suspected that they had it, because why tell them that? Obviously, from the stories we've heard that not only was the diet useful, but I think Dr. Swank's positive attitude that he instilled in his patients was a breath of fresh air for many people who met with this classic dour neurologist who might give the diagnosis and say you could go home and wait for the wheelchair. With regards to the Montreal group, in 1990, he published a 34-year follow-up on these patients who started the diet and showed that those who had remained on the diet had lived longer and were less disabled than those who had not stayed on the diet. In 2003, he published a 50-year follow-up on these patients, and this is the longest follow-up of any treatment for MS by 35 years. Okay? The longest other ones are like 15 years, and those are considered extremely long. So this is incredible accomplishment to have this long of a follow-up. And that study confirmed his previous findings. In 1954, Dr. Swank became head of neurology at the then University of Oregon Medical School, now OHSU. And for the next 20 years, he conducted research while caring for people with MS. He wrote several books on the low-fat diet, including the popular multiple sclerosis diet book. One discovery, which has already been alluded to a couple of times, during this time helped countless patients undergoing heart surgery. For his research on blood thickness, Dr. Swank invented a filter in the late 1960s that removed small clots from blood. And fortuitously, it was found that the filter proved beneficial in preventing small blood clots from going to the brain of patients undergoing cardiac bypass surgery, a procedure which was in its early stages in development at that time. And by preventing these small blood clots from going to the brain, prevented large and small strokes that were occurring as a complication of the cardiac surgery. He created a company, as Susan mentioned, starting off in his basement to make the filters, and the Swank filter was widely used worldwide during cardiac bypass surgery, helping countless patients avoid strokes during heart surgery. That alone was a major contribution to healthcare. Interestingly, a contribution that many physicians don't know about. Dr. Swank retired from the university in 1974, but continued academic and endeavors in clinical practice until 1991. 1999, of course, Mr. was still working away for as long as he, for several years beyond that. Dr. Swank and his family made a large gift to OHSU to create an endowed professorship, and I am extremely proud to be the current Roy and Eulalia Swank Family Research Professor. He did not put many stipulations on what type of research the endowed professor would do. I asked him about this. Asked him why didn't he restrict it to research on diet or on MS or on diet in MS. And he told me that he believed that scientists should be free to pursue their ideas. And he wanted the professorship to allow the individuals named to it to do just that, follow their ideas wherever they led. Dr. Swank was brilliant, creative, incredibly energetic, and his belief that scientists should freely pursue their ideas, unfettered by restrictions on funds or popular ideas going through the scientific community. Guided by this belief, Dr. Swank had